Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to part 2 of the understairs cupboard build. In part 1 I built the actual understairs cupboard area. If you haven't seen that one, I'll link it in the, up top there. In this video we're going to look at actually concealing it. So I'll show you how I did this front section here, and then I'm going to attempt to try and put that one there and then fashion the skirting board somehow so it looks semi-decent. I'll then paint it, put a handle on it and see how it looks. So let's see how I get on. I'm gonna win for you like I know you want me to do. So started off with some 18mm birch ply. I picked this because it was stable and it was going to have the least defects in it. My neighbour gave me some of this insulation from a leftover project he had, which made it so much easier to cut all my sheets of ply. The main problem with actually hiding this was the fact that there were some very tight angles that I had to go with in order for it to fit with the look of the stairs. How is that so much bigger than I needed it to be? Now you can see that it roughly fitted in well. All I had to do was cut a strip off of the edge so that would separate the bits coming from the wall and the bits that are actually attached to the shoe rack. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to shim the bottom of it so I can lift it up enough to get it into roughly the right place with the actual frame that I needed to fit. By doing this, it wouldn't hit the floor when I was moving in and out, and there'd be a very little gap at the top, which means it shouldn't be overly noticeable. Now I knew I was going to fill all these holes, so I wasn't too worried about putting too many in, but I wanted to get a good anchor point at the start, and then I took it out, laid it down as you see, and then just put in loads and loads of screws. Because there's a lot of weight to this, I wanted to make sure that it was properly secure to the frame, so when my wife pulled it out, it wouldn't come off in her hands. So the last job on the list for this day was to try and get the old plasterboard off of the skirting board. Now this was ridiculous. It was nailed and then glued into place, and I really struggled to get it off. But the problem is Persimmons used stupid skirting board, which means I couldn't just go and buy a new bit from B&Q or Homebase or anything. I had to use what I had because there was no way of replacing it. I tried and it was near impossible. So I'm using the small bit of ply that I cut off of the main section to fill this gap. I used my Works Sonic Crafter in order to slice off that small bit of skirting that was left in the way. Time for the very technical tool of just a knife. Or not. To secure this, I just anchored it straight to the plasterboard and then nailed it to the top bit. That stopped it moving enough. Sorry about that. Oops. The handle I added to it was just a basic kitchen handle. It actually matches the one that we have in our kitchen already. So all I need to do is mark it up and then drill it. Once I had that skirting board clear of plasterboard, I needed to cut it to size. Little tip I learned is to turn it round and mark it from the other side. You get roughly the right size you need to cut it then. And there you go. It doesn't actually catch on the floor either. Quite surprised about that. All I'm doing now is shimming up that one side because it was a tiny bit low and it wasn't quite as level as I wanted it to be. So I need to cut this so it will fit in that little gap. So I figure the easiest way of doing it is to try and measure and do this with this Magnuson thing. I can't even remember what it's called, but it basically just fits in all the gaps. First time I've used it, so I figure might as well try it now for this, see how we get on. The only problem with this one is it hasn't got a lock, so when you're using it, it can just move wherever it wants, which is somewhat frustrating, but you know, let's just see how I get on with it. That's probably going to be close enough. I don't know if I can get it any any closer than that. So then what I can do now is cut that out there, hopefully, and hopefully it'll fit. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to cut this out yet, because I mean I haven't got a scroll saw or anything. I could jigsaw it, but I'm not sure. I don't know, I'll figure it out. Okay, so I managed to get it cut out. I actually used the bandsaw, which wasn't perfect, but it will be good enough for hiding this corner. I also chopped the backside off with the bandsaw as well, which didn't go too well because it doesn't go straight, and we all know that I can't use a bandsaw for love nor money. But actually that might be quite good because it is a lot thinner at the bottom than it is at the top. So let's have a look to see how this one fits. So I need to take just a smidge off the bottom for that to fit properly, and then it's not, like I say, it's not going to be perfect, but it will make it look a little bit more consistent. Okay, so chopped it off. There we go. Now that is good enough for me, and once it's painted and hid, it should be fine. It ain't pretty, I'll fix it later. Right, so it's not perfect. It needs a lot of filler on it, especially down here. Got to figure out how to hide the edges, but it's pretty much ready for a bit of painting now. Hi, so I picked up some quick drying poly filler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around all of the holes and the nail marks and things like that and try and fill them, so then I can start painting it. And I'm also going to try and seal the edge with it as well, because then the paint won't seep into the plywood so much, and then hopefully this won't be as noticeable because it will be the same colour as that. And obviously I've got these nice big holes and gaps down here that I've got to fill as well, so I'm going to get to it.
What are you sticking glue?
It's not glue, it's polyfill.
Don't put your polyfill on your finger.
Well, I probably shouldn't, but this is the easiest way for me to do it right now. Now I've got no idea whether this will actually work. I'm pretty sure I've seen April do it with some of her plywood projects, but I don't know. I guess I can just scrape it off and start again. Admittedly, she didn't use this one, and I am starting to regret it. But you live and learn, don't you? Don't know if you don't try. So if you have got a better way of doing this, actually, if you could leave it in the comments, that would be brilliant, because then when I do undoubtedly have to do this again, I'll know a better way of doing it. But I guess seeing as I can't have instant feedback like in the comments, I'll just crack on with this and see how I get on. Not the end of the world, is it? I think that'll do for the minute. Let that dry. Still got to figure out that top edge. I might just take all of this out for that though. So this is really dry already, surprisingly. Hold on, mate. So I think this is a little bit coarse, but I just want to knock it down. All we need to do is just try and get it nice and smooth so the paint won't look bumpy and horrible. Oops. I should have taken the shoes out. Don't tell the wife. Okay, so it's not perfect, but I think it will do. So that's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up now, take this out, and then somehow try and figure out how I'm going to do that next bit. I think I'm okay. So, the only bit that's left is that bit now. So, I'll show you what I'm dealing with. Quite a large gap I'm going to have to try and fill. And then I guess I'm going to have to do this edge as well. But I'm not sure yet. This is actually where the quick dry polyfill came into its own. I could really build those layers up really nice and easily with this one because it was just drying really fast. And I got it really nice and smooth all the way through. If I say I'm going for a rustic look, does that mean that I can excuse the sloppy workmanship? Oh yes, it's rustic. Yeah, no, it's deliberate, that's why it doesn't look that good. So I'm just using standard house paint in Magnolia for this one. It's what the rest of the house is painted in, so it was the easiest one. It would have been easier to take the handle off, but I really didn't want to have to deal with trying to get those screws out. So I masked and taped off as much as I can and then just went through. This would have been a lot easier with a foam roller, but I had lost it. I used Everbuild Everflex 1 hour cork in order to fill these gaps. I filled it, smoothed it out, and then did the top of the skirting board as well on the frame and the actual door. So there you have it. Nicely finished and somewhat hidden. I mean, the giant handle is a little bit of a giveaway that it's there, but I still think it looks good. Matched it well with the Magnolia walls. Skirting board is, well, it's a skirting board. If I could change one thing about this project, I would make that the same level as the other one. It was my laziness and I've just worked a massively long week which put me to not doing it, and I'm going to regret this one, but I put so many nails in this skirting board to hold it into place. I'm really not going to be getting it off anytime soon, so that's the one change I would make, but apart from that I think it's lovely. There you go, so that's concealed, nicely painted, corked so you can hide all the gaps in there, and then yeah, all done. So if you want to have a go yourself, you can follow along, watch both my videos, and then you'll be absolutely fine. So I'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, thanks you for watching, I appreciate it. If you want to watch any of my other videos, have a look in the links here, especially for the previous one where I built the actual stairs cupboard. And remember, like, comment and subscribe down below. I do my best to reply to every single comment. And if you haven't seen it, you can buy one of these ones on my Amazon shop. Links in the description.